All right, welcome back to the workshop. I guess today's project's going to be one that I'm needing to work on. I'm kind of getting old and not quite as ambitious to pick these lawnmowers up and move them around as I once was. So I got me a new lift table here, but I didn't want to spend a bunch of money to get a great big one. So we got one this size here. It's not a little bad one. It come off of the old Amazon. Couple $100, but a lift up, I believe we're talking about 500 pounds according to the label, and it's a pretty nice little lift. It's got the leg on the back of it back here, and you just put your foot on there and it pumps it right up, and I think it brings it up to like 26.5 inches, something like that, which makes it a pretty good working height. And then there's a handle here to lower it back down. Now the big problem is that the lawnmower that I want to put up on there most of the time, I think we could take that and we should be able to just kind of wheel it up onto that and then go. But as you see, it's not quite wide enough for it. So what I want to do is get into a little bit of the woodworking. I want to build a base for it that's wide enough that the lawnmower can actually sit up onto it. And I think we can just take a little piece of plywood and work this on here. Set it on there, build some sides to it, make it a little bit wider. So we're going to go ahead and run to the woodworking side, and we'll see if we can find us a piece of plywood, and we'll start laying out and designing this thing, see what we can come up with. Yeah, went ahead, I measured the wheels distance here, and I have on this typical 21-inch mower, I've really got about 23.5 inches, something along that line. So I went ahead and made this about 26 inches wide. And then the length front to back was 35 inches, and I made the base of this 36. So I gave it just a little bit extra because we're not really concerned, I don't think, without here. Of course, I'm kind of making this up as I go. But that gives us a little bit on each side of that to have something a little bit wider if it did have. But I also want to think about most of these things when you're working on them. They're going to be oil filled and gas and everything else. So I think what I want to do is a 1/2-inch piece of plywood. We'll go ahead, and I found me a piece of formica. That ought to work good. We'll glue that to the top of the plywood. And then that will keep the oils and gas and whatever I spill on it from soaking down into the wood. And then around the edge, I want to put a little stop all the way around there. And I've got a vinyl board here that I think I can cut that down into 3/4 inch wide, just enough to make it a wheel stop when it sits here. It'll hit up against it, and it'll also keep it from sliding off the edges, and it'll hold the formica down also on the edges, so that should help that a bit. So we're going to kind of try to put those around the outside edge. We're still going to have to try to figure out how we're going to attach or keep this from sliding off of the table, and I think probably another board or something under here for the full length will work. Might have to put us a couple of pins or something in here to hold it then into the base so it doesn't just fall off when we get it on that. So we'll have to come up with a couple of pins or something to do that with. So that's what we're kind of thinking. So for right now, I think this is going to be a good working height anyways. Convenient to walk up and do it. I ain't going to have to sit down on the floor to work on it. I think it's going to work out. So all right, I'm going to go ahead and see if we can get the formica on here. I'll cut my little pillars up. We'll put those on there. We'll see how well we can seal that. Some little silicone around it. We'll make the top of it looking right, I think. So we'll start there and let you know what we make out from that. Okay, well, I jumped ahead of myself a little bit on this, but basically got the board cut. Before we put that formica on there, I did figure I need something to hold this thing in place on top of it. So I just kind of built a little frame. Measured it off, got it set in place. We'll screw all this together, and that will simply set up on top of that right there. That'll hold it. Now our next part of engineering, because this is definitely an engineering in progress. We don't know. We've got to think of a way, one, to keep this thing from sliding on off, and I don't want it to. I don't want it to come up like that when I'm trying to put something on it. So that needs to be conquered. I don't know, probably I could set it down on here and probably put some sort of a brace here to just hit the base of that. I can't have it go too far because it hits the frame down here. So I can only cover up just a little bit of it, but that's probably all I need, either out of wood or a piece of metal plate. I'll just have to see what I can find. And that would squeeze that in that way. And then I've just got to come up with, do I want to put a little pin in right here to keep that thing from popping up when I pull something on it? I don't have to worry about it going the other direction because you can't get that side up, but when you go put something on it, I think it will. So I think we'll come up with that, see if I'm going to put metal, wood, and maybe you put a couple of pins or something here. I want to make it so it's very easy to get on and off, just in case I go from woodworking to or from lawnmower repairs or whatever, over here into this shop, and I might need a smaller table, whatever. So I do want to be able to take it off fairly easy, so we're going to try on that. Let me see what I can engineer next. We'll go from there. Okay, so on the engineering side of it, we found a couple little steel plates. We just screwed those onto the end of it. That should keep it from sliding around that direction. And then to keep it from coming up off of the table, I found some old window locks here. So we'd just be able to take those and slide those around. And I think they will catch up underneath the lip of this and should hold it there. So we'll be able to, I believe, take this thing on and off relatively easily. So bring it down, and then up under here, just twist those out, and then I think it gets it pretty good. I might have to get something a little bit thicker, but for right now I think that'll do all right. We don't have to be, we shouldn't go too far, but if we need to get a little bit more of a latch on there, we'll work on that after we play with it a little bit. But I think that's going to get us for now. Now I think we can go ahead and start putting Formica top on there, because that's all we need to do on the bottom side of it. So let's move to that part. Okay, for the Formica, I'm using a contact adhesive, just a Gorilla. You can do any kind of a contact cement. I've sprayed both surfaces. Now this is some very old Formica, so sometimes this doesn't work real well. But for this project, I think we're going to be fine, because we're going to put some boards around it to try to hold it down anyways. But I still want to try to give it a little adhesive. So when you do this, you spray it, and then you feel that it's still a little tacky. You really want to make this thing so it's not tacky. It's almost dry before you put it together. And that does give you a little bit quicker adhesion to it. You just got to be careful when you go to set it down on there that you set it exactly where you want it. Now this glue does say that you can spray like one surface and still be able to move it around. But a good contact cement, you really want to go both surfaces, let them dry pretty much, and we'll set it on there. This piece here I did mark out. You can see pencil lines here where approximately what size I'm actually going to use. We'll go ahead and throw that on there, make sure it's sitting where it needs to be, and then I'll just router that off with the trim cut router, and it'll look perfect on top of the board. So we'll go ahead here and give it just a minute more. It's still, that one's still pretty tacky. This one's pretty tacky. We're going to give it just a couple more minutes and we'll set her on there. Okay, that's all there is to getting it on there. Now we'll take it over here and get a flush trim router bit set up and trim her off. Okay, that's got that on there. That looks pretty good after you run the router around it. Got it all trimmed up. Now, like I say, we're just going to put a border around this to keep the wheels within the the distances here so they don't slide off while I'm working on it. A little tire stop to keep them from stopping, so we'll cut those up, and we'll silicone that edge when we get done too, keep the gas, oil, whatever else gets in there off too, I believe. So that ought to seal it up pretty good, help hold that down. It's pretty solid out here in the center, so I think it'll be all right. So anyways, let's go ahead and cut those little strips up, put them on down. Alright, that's all that should take. We should be able to get this over and give it a little try and see how she works with putting the mower on it. Let's see if my plans comes together at all. Alright, this is it. This is what we're going to try. Now, we have it here. We lock the wheels down. It comes with 2 locks. Have it all the way lowered. And hopefully, I'm going to take my lawnmower now. Set it up on there. It sits nice and solid. And then we just simply bring it up here where we can work on it. I think that's going to be just about a perfect height for it. So that's all that took. I think it turned out pretty good. I think the it would take a pretty good bit to knock it off either way, so that would be pretty safe working on it. If I needed to, I could chalk the wheels if I was trying to work on it and keep it from moving at all, but I'm mainly worried about it falling off. That gives me a little bit extra space on that to get one a little bit bigger, but that's probably about as big as I'm going to have on most any of them anyways. 21-inch push mower. If not, we'll worry about that one on the occasion. If I need to, I'll put something else up on top to expand it more, but I think that'll do us. So I think that's going to wrap this little project up. Maybe to give you an idea of, you're not limited to just what you buy for a lift. You can make it work for whatever. Like I say, the 500-pound capacity for what I'm doing, easily under that with just a 50-pound lawnmower or whatever this is. But being the old guy I am, don't have to roll over and pick the thing up off the floor. I'll also be able to take this. It's just about the same height as the bed of my truck. So I'll be able to wheel that right up, wheel it off the bed of my truck, onto the lift, bring it on, roll it in here, and work on it. So I think this will be a good benefit. You'll probably see it in a couple of my videos coming up when I have my next lawnmower repair. So thanks a bunch for watching. If you haven't hit that like and subscribe button down there yet, and you'd like to follow along with other kinds of projects, if you don't know what, I would appreciate it. And you won't miss any of the little odds and ends of projects we work. A lot of small engine repairs, a lot of woodworking, and then miscellaneous whatever. So join me on the journey, and thanks for watching. Check you on the next project.